Getting set for a start now. Tapes away, and it was a nice even dispatch too. As they go into tube makers for the first time, Wayne Monk from Queensland is out in front. Right there behind him, Phil Rowan from Queensland. It's the two Queenslanders out in front. Now look for some tactics. Monkey's got to come in there and block out the Victorians as they come past us. Phil Rowan's the race leader. Oh, he's let a Victorian come through underneath him. But it's Phil Rowan at the moment. Back there in second place, we've got rider number 3, Glenn Huff. He's splitting the Queenslanders at the moment, but it's Queensland with the big points at the moment. Phil Rowan out front from Glenn Huff in second place, then back to Wayne Monk in third place, and Ian Smith tailing out the field. Now let's have a look and see if Glenn Huff can go up and put some pressure on the Queenslander out in front at the moment. Phil Rowan still with the big points. We got the white flag coming as they come past us with a lap to go. It's still Queensland out in front at the moment. Phil Rowan from Glenn Huff back there in second place. Wayne Monk is holding back on fourth place, just trying to keep Ian Smith at bay so that they can get 3 and 1 compared to 2 and none. Coming around now to get the checkered flag. Big points going to Queensland first up. Phil Rowan from Glenn Huff in second place, then back to Wayne Monk and tailing out the field. So they're all lined up, ready for a start. Second heat for Darwin City Centre. Australian best pairs, and we're off and running once again. And as they go into tube makers for the first time, it's a neck-and-neck run, but it's Darren Treloar who's just there at the moment. Darren Treloar is the race leader, and he starts to scoot away from them. Here's Wes Hammer with a big run through on the inside. A beautiful run there from Wes Hammer, but Darren Treloar is the race leader at the moment. Wes Hammer's back there in third place. Then we go back to number 6. That's, good heavens, that's not Darren Treloar. He's up in the front at the moment. What's going on here? I'll have to try and pick them up as they come past us once again. Darren Treloar, certainly a scoot-away winner at the moment. He's the Australian champion, is really spreading this field now. He's out in front. Behind him, Wes Hammer. Then we go back to Greg Griffiths, and at the tail of the field, it's Mark Drew. Down the back straight they come once again. Have a look at the superiority of this particular rider here at the moment. He's absolutely flying. Absolutely flying out in front of the moment. Darren Treloar. Back in behind him, Wes Hammer. Then we go to Griffiths and Drew at the tail of the field. They come past us this time to get the checkered flag. And I tell you what, this might be another track record for Darren Treloar. It was a fine run. Wes Hammer picks up the second posse, then to Greg Griffiths. And at the tail of the field was blitzing a few of these. Chris Ray down there on the inside. Next to him is Rowe. Then to Owen. Then across on the outside. It was a nice even break too. And Hardy is Ray, I should say, is the leader at the moment as they go through tube makers for the first time. He leads Jeff Rowe down the back straight. Then we've got Crossy on the inside and Jim Irwin hanging out back there in number 4. So territory running 2 and 3 at the moment, but it's the South Australian Chris Ray who's out there at the moment. Chris Ray is the race leader from Jeff Rowe, running a really tight line. Then the bikes start to clash and collide back there for third and fourth. It's a great battle between Jim Irwin and Richard Cross. Irwin just sticks the nose in front. Crossy fighting back around the outside. Look at Irwin push him out wide so he can get up and get into position. At the moment, it's South Australia. Chris Ray, the race leader. Jeff Rowe from the territory fighting hard back there on the inside and starting to close the gap. Then we go back to South Australia with Jim Irwin and Richard Cross tailing out the field. 1 1/4 laps to go as they come past us once again. The South Australian Chris Ray is the leader. Behind him, Jeff Rowe. But Jeff Rowe's starting to close the gap on him too. Ray's going a little bit wide. Here comes Rowe back with a fight on the inside. But he just gets blocked off a little touch there by Chris Ray. It's Chris Ray on the inside. Rowe going a little wide. He's going to let the South Australian through. Jim Irwin just gives him a bit of a push-up. They fight back and Rowe just gets there ahead of Irwin. A brilliant run. Set for a start. Takes away, and a beautiful dispatch it was, although Val Marshall really... Oh, good heavens, a bad clash there. A bad clash there from... it was McLean and Monk. Up against the line. Takes away. Nice dispatch it was too. And it's McLean that gets the break first up. And as I said, Phil Rowan sandwiched between the two of them, but he comes out a little bit better as McLean gets into the side of him. But it's the Queenslander who's out in front at the moment. Phil Rowan is the race leader from Andy McLean back there in second place, and Dale Marshall holding back in third. So the Queenslander continuing where he left off in his first heat. He's flying here tonight at Northline Speedway. Down the back straight he goes once again and starts to get a little bit of distance between himself and the first Tassie Devil. Andy McLean coming past us once again. Phil Rowan from Queensland, the race leader. on the big points at the moment. Back in behind him, Andrew McLean, then back to Dale Marshall. So this one will square all up with the points at the moment. There'll be 3 to Queensland and 3 to Tasmania. If the race continues this way, we've got one white flag coming down now. Bill Rowan's got a lap to get himself home to make it 2 out of 2 here tonight at Northline Speedway for himself. Makes it a little bit wide out of tube makers that time. Down the back straight, nice and comfortable. Turns the bike into city centre corner. And he comes around tight on the pole line to get the checkered flag past us now. And another big win to Phil Rowan. Second place to Andrew McLean. The third place to Dale Marshall. With a clean sweep this time. Tapes away. It was a nice break there too. As they go into tube makers for the first time, it's Darren Trelaw who's out in front at the moment. Running up there in second place is Glenn Huff. And back there in third place, we've got Ian Smith, and tailing the field at the moment is Greg Griffiths as they come past us. Darren Trelaw is the race leader. Huffy's gone a little bit wide that time. That's allowed number 4, Ian Smith, to come up into second place. Huffy fighting back down there on the inside. They're teammates, these two blokes, so they wouldn't want to impinge on each other's territory too much, because Greg Smith will be after them like a cat up a drain pipe. Have a look at the Australian champion fly, though. He's absolutely got this one blitzed at the moment. Darren Trelaw is out in front, getting the big points. Back in there behind him is Ian Smith. Then we go back to Glenn Huff. They're running actually a very good tactical team race, if you can have a look at what their style is. One down on the inside line, one about half track high, just to block out any thoughts that Greg Griffiths might have of wanting to get past them. He's just absolutely not in the hunt with this one, but Darren Trelaw is the boy that's going to get the big points for New South Wales as he comes past us once again. Darren Trelaw, big points for him. Then it's 2 and 3 to Victoria. Ian Smith and Glenn Huff. From Chris Ray, Mark Drew and Jim Irwin on the outside. Tapes away. Oh, look at that bike rear there of Chris Ray's. Wes Hammer's got himself up into the lead beautifully this time, although they're starting to fight around on the outside. But at the moment, it's the West Australian Wes Hammer out in front. Wes Hammer at the moment leading by just a few points there to on the outside, number 7, Mark Drew. So it's 1 and 2 at the moment for the West Australians. 1 and 2, and the South Australians being blocked out of this one nicely. Mark Drew goes to the lead in this race. Again, it's tactics, folks. Just have a look at the tactics. 1 on the outside, 1 down there on the inside. Not giving a hope in Hades for Jim Irwin or Chris Ray to be able to get through. They're going side by side. This is what State of Origin best pairs racing is all about. 1 down on the inside line, 1 on the outside line. And if there was a South Australian within QE of them, they wouldn't be able to get past, that's for sure. White flag down, 1 lap to go. Mark Drew is just leading by a tad there to Wes Hammer, but it doesn't really matter because it is teams racing, and the individual performance is not really coming into contention in this particular racing series. But as they cross the line, Mark Drew will pick up the big points from Wes Hammer in second place. Then to Jim Irwin, who will get up a point for South Australia. Set for a start now. Tapes away, and bikes rearing everywhere at the moment. But as they go into tube makers for the first time, it's Jeff Rowe who's up there in front, and right behind him is Richard Cross. Oh, this could be a boil over for the NT. Come on, boys. Jeff Rowe out in front at the moment. Richard Cross down there on the pole line with him, and Andy McLean being forced wide this time. Dale Marshall. It's the territory running 1 and 2 at the moment. And now the tactics have got to come in. Crossy, you've just got to go out a little bit and block McLean from getting in around you. You pushed him out beautifully that time, son. Jeff Rowe down the back straight. Come on, Richard. Bring it in nice and tight now. Don't let the Tasmanian come underneath you. Jeff Rowe, the race leader. Richard Cross back there in second place. Andy McLean trying to get the big points up there for Tasmania. Dale Marshall's out of it at this stage. Jeff Rowe down the back straight. Leads a very, very tight race indeed. Richard Cross up there in second place. Blocking the line of Andrew McLean from Tasmania, trying to come through underneath him. The power's on, the white flag's down. We've got 1 lap to go. It's still Jeff Rowe, but Andy McLean's climbing all over the back of Richard Cross as they come out of tube makers. Crossy's slowing down. McLean heading to the outside. But it's still Jeff Rowe. Jeff Rowe from the territory and Richard Cross from the territory, looking to get the big points here tonight. And it's a drag race down to the end. And they did a brilliant run there from the Territorians. As I said, it should be a really good race, particularly from these two on the outside. Getting set for a start now. Tapes away. And Trelaw really rears. Monk's got problems with his machine. It fails at the line. But it's Phil Rowan who goes up into the lead. Then forcing his way through now is Darren Trelaw. He's up into first place, but Phil Rowan is fighting back strongly from the outside. He needs to tuck his bike in inside of Greg Smith there, which he does beautifully. So it's Darren Treloar up there for New South Wales with the big points. Behind him, Phil Rowan doing a great job at the moment in keeping the other New South Welshman at bay. Bad luck there for Monkey from Queensland, who failed on the line. The race continues. Darren Treloar from Phil Rowan. Back there in third place, we've got Greg Griffiths. And tailing out a long way behind now because of his failed start is the other Queenslander, Wayne Monk. Coming past us once again now through City Centre Shopping. And it's Darren Treloar, Australia #1, who gets the white flag. Behind him, Phil Rowan from Queensland. Then we go to Greg Griffiths back there in third place and Wayne Monk in fourth place. About half a lap between first and last at this stage as our race leader, and I'm sure our race winner, comes pretty wide out of City Centre corner, gets the checkered flag and more big points for New South Wales. Phil Rowan picks up 2 big ones for Queensland. Then to Greg Griffiths, who picks up 1 for... set for a start now. Takes away. It was a nice dispatch too. Wes Hammer from Western Australia, the first in to get the big points. Then we've got Glenn Huff down there on the inside and Mark Drew on the outside. But it's West Australia, Victoria, West Australia. Here comes Mark Drew to get through on the inside of the Victorian there, Glenn Huff, and they've done it again. West Australia leading 1-2 at the moment. Wes Hammer is out in front. Mark Drew back there in second place. Ooh, he crosses up chronically that time, but I think he gets it under control just enough time to allow him to come back and block the line of Glenn Huff from Victoria. Ian Smith tailing out the foursome at the moment as they come out of City Centre Shopping once again. It's Wes Hammer from Mark Drew. The West Australians leading 1 and 2 at the moment. Glenn Huff and Ian Smith back there in positions 3 and 4. Down the back straight they go once again. Wes Hammer, he'll stay close to the inside line. Mark Drew will just drift it out. Oh, they've both taken it out fairly wide that time, and Glenn Huff followed them through. Ian Smith running in fourth place. White flag's down. We're on the last lap at the moment. Down the back straight goes Wes Hammer. He's got the hammer down in this one, and here comes Mark Drew. Hammer about a third of the track out. Identical line there to Mark Drew, and the checkered flag down. Big points for Western Australia this time. A great win there to Wes Hammer and Mark. It's as per the program they line up this time. Chris Ray's been pretty well on the pace tonight. Let's see how we can go. Getting set for a start. It's South Australia versus Tasmania. Takes away, and it was a nice even dispatch too. McLean's the better one. McLean is out in front first. Behind him, oh, giving him a little bit of a nudge out that time was Chris Ray from South Australia. Jimmy Irwin starting to make a little bit of a move up there too as the bikes all come up fairly hard together. As they come out of it, it's Chris Ray and Jim Irwin. South Australia's got big points here at the moment. The Taswegians finding it a little bit difficult back there at the moment. South Australia now in classic teams racing. Look how tight they're running the game together. It's Chris Ray, Jim Irwin back there in second place. Andy McLean takes it out fairly wide, trying to look at an outside run. Now the South Australians really tighten up that line. There's no room between the two of them, so it's going to be a real hard job for Andy McLean to get his sidecar around them. This is just brilliant pairs riding. Now Jim Irwin comes down on the lower line. Have a look at the way they're doing it. All looking around, seeing where the opposition is. Jimmy Irwin down there for South Australia. Hello, Chris Ray's gone a bit wide. That's given McLean the opportunity to slide through between them. Oh dear, dear. A little bit of a mistake there from Chris Ray. Jim Irwin crossing right up. The sidecars all coming together. Passengers flying off. And the only one who kind of escaped out of all of that was Chris Ray. Okay, so we'll have the St John ambulance attendants over to the riders and the passengers. But what seemed to happen there that Jim Irwin really crossed his bike up quite chronically, and Andy McLean went into the side of him. Dale Marshall coming through underneath, got caught up in the melee, and his passenger was thrown off the bike as well. So we'll have a little bit of music while we attend to the riders and the passengers, and be back with their report shortly.
Team and Wayne Monk for brought to the territory through Budget Homes.
Okay, getting set for a start now. Jeff Rowe down there on the inside. Next to him, Wayne Monk, then to Richard Cross and Phil Rowan from the outside. All the bikes clash as they go into Tube Makers for the first time, and we red light it. Whites with Queensland on this one. The Waiting for Bill Rowe to come up to the line now, and shortly we'll have a start. Getting set now. Bikes away on the beautiful dispatch too. And the bikes flash as they go into tube makers for the first time. It's Wayne Monk crossing up quite bad. Oh, goodness gracious me. A sidecar. Bill Rowan's bike rode the outside wheel there of Wayne Monk's and careered into the air. The outside. That's for a start. It was a nice even break too. And as they go into tube makers for the first time, there's a crash of metal again as they size up the track just after she's been graded out. Looks like it's Chris Ray, the leader at the moment. We'll check them as they come past us. Chris Ray is the leader. Glenn Huff's up there in second place at the moment. We go back to Ian Smith and Jim Irwin having a good fight with him down at the back of the field. Jim Irwin just going off the racetrack slightly there, and he'll come on a hard charge underneath Smithy. But as they come past us once again, we'll just reaffirm the numbers. Number 4 is the race leader at the moment. That's Ian Smith out in front. Behind him we've got Glenn Huff. Then we go back to Jim Irwin and Chris Ray tailing out the field. They come past us once again to get the white flag. Great performance at the moment from the number 4 rider, Ian Smith from Victoria. Glenn Huff's up there in second place. Behind him we've got Jim Irwin from South Australia, and tailing out the field is Chris Ray. So it looks like the points are going to be split on this one. They come past us now, and a great win there to number 4, Ian Smith from Victoria. Well, then it'll be even Stevens between the Territory and New South Wales. Okay, down there on the inside is Griffith next to them road. We'll go out to Laura and Brooks Cross on the outside. From the break, and it looks like it might have gone that way with the 2 New South Welshmen out in front of those. Crossy's fighting back, and so's Rowie fighting back. Okay, Darren Treloar out in front. And then we go to Griffith and Rowe on the outside, and Richard Cross at the tail of the field. Treloar, forget him, he's got the big points. This is where the battle is for the minor placings at the moment. But it's the New South Welshman who's out in front at the moment. Richard Cross and Jeff Rowe fighting very hard to try and get up and get some of these points. But Greg Griffith has come into the second half of the program with a tremendous amount of speed. Darren Treloar out in front at the moment. This is going to be a clean sweep for New South Wales. If Richard Cross can't get up there and get up underneath Greg Griffiths at the moment. He's coming on a big charge now. Just has to back off a little bit as Griffiths came up underneath him. The white flag's down. We've got 1 lap to go. Treloar, the race leader. Griffiths is up there in second place. New South Wales running run 2 at the moment. Can the Territory get through underneath him and at least grab a point or 2 on this one? Very important that they do to keep their points intact. Darren Treloar comes across the start-finish line now to win the event. Here's the big drag for the start-finish line. But Griffiths will get up there ahead of Cross. And in 4th place, Jeff Rowe. He's changed bikes, though, just to confuse me totally. Just get to know these guys from the colour of their bikes, and then they go and change them on me. Down there on the inside, we've got Mark Drew. Then sandwiched between the 2 of them is Dale Marshall, and on the outside is Wes Hammer. Okay, 3 bikes to contest this one. Getting set for a start now. Takes away. Nice even dispatch it was too. Mark Drew down there on the inside. He's up into the lead now. Here comes Wes Hammer, but fighting back hard down on the inside is Dale Marshall from Tasmania. So at the moment it's West Australia, Tasmania, Western Australia. Mark Drew goes pretty wide in that corner. But it's still Dale Marshall fighting pretty hard for Tassie. He goes a little bit wide. This is going to give Wes Hammer the opportunity to come in underneath him. They're fighting neck and neck as they go down the back straight. Wes Hammer down there on the inside will slide through underneath Dale Marshall, and now it's a 1-2 for Western Australia as they come past us again. Although Dale Marshall hasn't given up, boy gee, he hasn't given up. But down there on the inside line, Wes Hammer going pretty hard. They're neck and neck as they go down the back straight. Mark Drew, the race leader, nice and easy. We don't have to worry about him. But, looks like there might be a failure there. Dale Marshall's come back into the 4. Dale Marshall from Tasmania is up into second place now. He goes a little bit wide. And here comes Wes Hammer once again. These 2 are riding side by side. Checkered flag coming out now. Checkered flag. Mark Drew in second place, Wes Hammer. And third place to Dale Marshall. Shawnee down there on the inside. Next to him is Chris Ray. Then out to Lee Cross and Jim Irwin from the outside. Getting set for a start. Takes away. Nice even dispatch it was too. And as the bikes go into tube makers for the first time, Jim Irwin's the race leader, although Chris Ray has sliced through underneath him. So it's South Australia running 1 and 2 at the moment. Back there in third place is Shawnee Francis and Lee Cross tails out the field. So we're playing the big blocking game here. This is superb pairs riding. You watch these two gang up on Shawnee Francis. He's not going to get a look in between these two. The only, what did I say? Let's have a look at them as they come out of the corner. Shawnee's from the outside. No, just washed a little bit too wide that time. So that'll be the tactic from Jim Irwin. Look at him, about half track high out there, just keeping Shawnee out into the loose stuff where there's not as much drive. But I tell you what, they've got to watch out, because if he tucks down in front of Chris Ray, like he has done right now. Now get the bike down, Shawnee. Get it down. And he can attack Jim Irwin now. So it's Jim Irwin up in front. Behind him is Shawnee Francis, but Shawnee's keeping a pretty wide line out there, and I don't really know why, because he might be getting the benefit of it at the moment. All he's doing is just eating Jim Irwin's dirt. So he really needs to tuck that bike in, because I think he's got the horsepower to assault Jim Irwin down the back straight. Here he comes for the big run. Shawnee Francis up into the lead now, blocking out Irwin wide. Look at this brilliant run here from Shawnee Francis, the reserve rider. He'll come through and get the big point. Shawnee Francis picks up the big points from Jim Irwin in second place. Chris Ray back there in third place. Continue that performance. And to try and keep him honest will be Jeff Rowe and also Richard Cross. Glenn Huff in there also representing Victoria in the blue leathers. Up onto the line, getting set for a start now. Takes away with a beautiful break too, nice and even. And as they go into tube makers for the first time, Glenn Huff's there. Oh, and we've got a roll over there with, let's have a look. It was Jeff Rowe. Jeff Rowe has gone over again. And it looks like it might be Glenn Huff that went as well. Jeff Rowe and Glenn Huff, the Victorian and the Territorian. Yeah. Have them away shortly. Takes break and off and running. And Richard Cross is the first one into the corner. Richard Cross nice and tightly down there on the line. Glenn Huff on his inside. Ian Smith back there in third place at the moment. Here comes Glenn Huff with a move on Richard Cross, but Richard's just holding him out. Turns the bike around tightly. Oh, and Glenn Huff slides through underneath him. Glenn Huff into the lead now. And here comes Ian Smith with a big charge on him. Richard Cross splitting the two Victorians at the moment. And the two of them are neck and neck as they go down the back straight. Smithy flies through underneath Richard Cross. So it's Victoria 1 and 2 as they come through Darwin City Centre corner once again. Richard Cross fighting hard down on the inside line. Glenn Huff, the race leader. Back there and behind him, Ian Smith, and Richard Cross still fighting very, very hard to get up into second place and get some points for the territory. But it's Glenn Huff, the race leader, from Ian Smith. They can gang up on Richard now. Well, you'll notice one will go a little bit wider just to block his line off a bit. White flag down. 1 lap to go. Glenn Huff, Ian Smith, the Victorians running 1 and 2 at the moment. Richard Cross back there in third place. Glenn Huff goes pretty wide. Will Smith try and get underneath him? No, he just backs off and lets the team leader come through the corner so that they can pick up the big points. Glenn Huff now will win the event from Ian Smith in second place. Victoria getting the big points, and Richard Cross will pick up a point for third. And Darren Trelaw on the outside. Okay, getting set for a start now. Takes away with a nice even break too. Greg Griffith is the one that gets them into tube makers for the first time, as Dale Marshall tries to take the Australian champion fairly wide. Succeeds to do that as they come through City Centre shopping for the first time. Darren Trelaw flies around the outside of the whole team and gets himself up into the lead. So he's going to play the leader, and Greg Griffiths will play the blocker as Dale Marshall runs back into third place. Darren Trelaw, the race leader. Dale Marshall going a little bit wide out of City Centre shopping corner that time. So it's New South Wales running 1 and 2 at the moment. And Darren Trelaw just keeping himself fairly honest out there. I just thought I heard a change of note in the sidecar. I don't know whether he's just backing off so he can get a tighter bunch against him and Greg Griffiths there. He's riding half-track high on that, trying to block that big line of Dale Marshall's, which is a classic blocking line for the sidecars. But I don't think Dale's got really much chance to get around this pretty powerful combination at the moment. So Darren Trelaw is going to come across the line to get the big points, along with Greg Griffiths in second place. Francis. So it'll be Mark Drew down there on the inside. Next to him Sean A. Francis, then out to Wes Hammer, and Lee Cross on the outside. Set for a start. Tapes away. It was a beautiful break too. And Mark Drew's the first to go into Tube Makers. Up there in second place at the moment, just by a tad, is Sean A. Francis. Wes Hammer's gone a little bit wide, and Sean A. Francis has come up into second place and now makes an assault on the lead. He's going to keep the Western Australians out, and Sean A. Francis comes around now and he's into the lead. Sean A. Francis, the race leader. Back there in second place, we've got Mark Drew. He slides back through on the inside. Up there into third place is Wes Hammer, and Wes Hammer comes up into second place now. Sean A. Francis being kept fairly wide now with Wes Hammer back in there blocking his move as they come past us once again. It's Mark Drew, the race leader. Now you should see some fairly classic sidecar blocking going here. We've got Mark Drew on the inside, Wes Hammer up there on the outside, and the two of them are just making absolutely no room for Sean A. To get through, because whenever he gets up close to them, he gets an absolute mouthful of the loose surface, and that's going to retard any effort that he's got. Look at this classic bit of best pairs riding there. It's absolutely brilliant. One down on the inside, one on the outside, side by side as they go down the back straight and through the corners. That leaves absolutely no opportunity for the opponents to come through. The checkered flag is coming out, and big point win going to Western Australia with Wes Hammer taking the race just ahead of Mark Drew. We've got Ian Smith, then next to him is Dale Marshall, out to Glenn Huff and Lee Cross on the outside. Set for a start, tapes away. And as they go into Tube Makers for the first time, it's Ian Smith who's out in front. Glenn Huff is back there in second place. He takes the inside line. The two Victorians are side by side as they go down the back straight. And we go back just a tad to Lee Cross from the Territory, the reserve, and Dale Marshall tailing out the field. But it's a classic Victorian 1-2 combination at the moment. Ian Smith taking the high line, Glenn Huff the low line, and Lee Cross back in there behind them, finding it fairly hard to see a bit of daylight between this very professional pairs combination of Ian Smith and Glenn Huff from Victoria. Look at that classic bit of riding. That's what you say, and that's what you think pairs is all about. Just classic riding all the way around. Huff has gone to the outside. Smith now will take a turn on the inside, or will he wait for Glenn Huff to come in? They wouldn't want to play around too much, I tell you what, because Lee Cross is closing up on them each time. He's just riding a really tight line. They seem to get the X sorted out a bit now as we've got one lap to go. Smith down on the inside now, and Huff to the outside. Lee Cross still running third place. Dale Marshall is out of this heat effectively at the moment. And they've got one more corner to negotiate. It'll be Ian Smith from Victoria to come through and pick up the big points. Right behind him is Glenn Huff. And then Lee Cross will get the third place. So just waiting now for Jim Irwin to renegotiate his start position. Very important race, this one, for New South Wales. Getting set for a start. Tapes away. And a rearing start there by the Australian champion and also by the other New South Welshman. But it's Jim Irwin who's out in front at the moment. Darren Trelaw's back there in second place. Then we go back to Greg Griffiths and Chris Ray tails out the field. As they come past us for the first time, they all start bunching up and sliding through underneath is the Australian champion, Darren Trelaw. He's up into the front now. We've got Jim Irwin sandwiching Greg Griffith, I should say, back there in third place, and Chris Ray tailing out the field. They come past us once again. Darren Trelaw, the race leader. Jim Irwin trying to block the path of the other New South Welshman there, making him do the hard work by going around the outside. But really what the New South Wales people need at the moment is a 1-2, not a 1 and a 3. Darren Trelaw keeping a nice high line there. He knows he's got Jim Irwin pretty well covered, but it's Greg Griffith who's got to do all the hard work. And at the moment, it doesn't look like he's doing that. Darren Trelaw, the race leader, back there in second place. We've got Jim Irwin riding a great race here, the South Australian. Back there in third place, it's Greg Griffiths. And here's the checkered flag now for the Australian champion, Darren Trelaw. Jim Irwin picks up second place. Greg Griffiths third. Individual here, not helping Richard at all. Okay, getting set for a start. And as they go to Tube Makers for the first time, it's Richard Cross who's in there first up. Richard Cross, and he's going to go a little bit wide, and Wes Hammer slides through underneath him, although he's fighting back pretty hard. It's Mark Drew on the outside, then to Richard Cross, then we go back to Wes Hammer, but I think the two West Australians are going to slide through now on the first turn. There we go. Mark Drew is the race leader. Wes Hammer back there in second place. Richard Cross giving him all the punishment that he possibly can, and Sean A. Francis tailing out the field. Now we're into that classic pairs partnership this time as Crossy tries to come through underneath them. But they're neck and neck at the moment, just blocking all of the line. Look at Hammer turn that bike in tight. And Mark Drew just keeping the outside line there, coming across the bows of Richard Cross. This is really classic sidecar best pairs racing here from the two Western Australians. They've really got their act together beautifully. Sean A. Francis has sailed down at the back of the field. Wes Hammer, the race leader. Back there in second place, we've got Mark Drew, who just forces Richard Cross to take evasive action, just slowing him up a little bit there, guaranteeing this position and this win for the Western Australians. A great win there to Wes Hammer and to Mark Drew. Richard Cross will pick up the third place. Okay, let's get on to the presentation straight away. And as I announced just earlier on 16 points cumulative, the South Australian team of Chris Ray, Rob Hardy, Jim Irwin and Lisa Wood, fourth place getters in the title for 1993. Jim coming up first of all. And there's Chris. And Sash for Lisa. And two Andrews. Jim, a few words as you part our shores once again.
Yes. I've got a fair few people I'd like to thank, actually. Firstly, the subcommittee of the MA in South Australia has helped Chris and I get up here. That's really good of them. All of my friends that came up, Lisa obviously, and her husband Mark Wood have been a big help to us. Jacko and Owen and Sean and Daryl, thanks a lot for your help in the pits, boys. I couldn't have done anything without you. And gee, isn't this a great venue? Thanks a lot, Darwin.
Thanks very much, Jim. And Chris, if you'd like to come and say a few words too.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the crowd, my sponsors, Fraser Imports, helping us out heaps, Coastal Transport, NTFS Freight, Japanese Motorcycle Dismantlers, yeah, Andy Bell, the guy up here that's lent us a trailer, and Geordie's family for their workshop, and our wives for putting up with copped a fair bit, and Jim, Lisa and Rob, thanks a lot.
I'd just like to thank my good friends at Howard Springs, Mick Norton and Mandy, for putting us up, eh? Thanks a lot.
That's the South Australian team, ladies and gentlemen, of Chris Ray, Rob Hardy, Jim Irwin and Lisa Wood on 16 points, coming fourth in the title. Third place getters on 21 points in the Darwin City Centre 1993 Australian Sidecar Best Pairs Championship here at Northline Speedway was the Victorian team of Glenn Huff, Robert Armstrong, Ian Smith and Kevin Pengelly. And the first duty we have, of course, is to present each of the competitors with their third place sashes. And now they get the position medallions from the Motorcycle Association and the Darwin City Centre trophies for each of the competitors. And I'll call on Ian Smith to come up and first of all have a few words. I'm sure there's a lot of people that you'd like to thank, Ian.
Oh, firstly I'd like to thank the passenger, Glenn and his passenger, and everybody up here up Darwin Way. They're all very friendly and had a good time up here. And Robert Griffiths, of course, he puts a lot of work and time into the bikes, and anybody else who helped out. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Ian Smith. And the second pairs of the Victorian team, Glenn Hutt. Glenn, would you like to come forward? Just turn around and face the camera there.
Well, I'd especially like to thank all the people that got us up here. Dave Jones, Graham, Robbie, Brett, especially Reggie Williams, who's done all the fundraising to get us here, and anyone else that put in and helped out. Thanks very much.
Good on you, Glenn Hutt, ladies and gentlemen. That's the Victorian team coming third in the championships Glenn Huff and Ian Smith, Robert Armstrong and Kevin Pengelly. Second place getters of the 1993 Australian Sidecar Pairs titles presented by the Darwin City Centre on 25 points was the New South Wales team of Darren Treloar and Alan Griffiths, Greg Griffiths and Mark Griffiths. A real Griffiths family. Give them a big round of applause. I wonder if they come from Griffiths. They probably drink the wine from Griffiths. There we go, the sashes being presented, and William Bates Brownsword, the referee, presenting them with their medallions for second place. And trophies over here to the Australian champion, Darren Treloar. Okay, Darren, I think first of all we'll have a talk to you. Bodgy, you nearly got the big one, the Quinella.
Yeah, nearly got the Grand Slam. Just a couple of points off, but that's not... I'd just like to thank the Cross family for putting up with us. Al and the Griffos for riding with us. And Northline for putting on a good show.
Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen. That's your individual Australian champion, Darren Treloar, and teaming up with Greg and Mark Griffiths to come second in the Best Pairs title. Greg, would you like to come forward and thank a few people that have helped you here this year?
Yes, I'd like to thank Darren first up for getting the maximum. I'm a little bit sorry I let him down a bit. Love to thank my son Mark for riding with me. It's the first time he's ever been on with me, and he's done his job extremely well. The pit crew, Bob and Harry, for helping us out in the pits. Tumby Sand and Soil for all the support they're giving us and getting up here and giving us a big rev up. Harry's Motorcycles, Shivos, Ramshead Service and Sinlub, Finder Filters. And everyone else has given us a hand. We've been up here, we've done the touristy bits, now we can drink the Darwin Stubbies. Thank you.
Good on you. Greg Griffiths, ladies and gentlemen. What a combination from New South Wales. Darren Treloar, Alan Griffiths, Greg Griffiths and Mark Griffiths getting 25 points to come second in the Australian title. Okay, well, like I always say, there can be only one winner, but you cannot take it away from this magnificent four guys who drove pairs racing here tonight at Northline Speedway in the most magnificent form, the way it is supposed to be ridden, and that's why they're victorious here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome them up to the podium, the West Australian combination of Mark Drew, Tina Caron, Wes Hammer and Andrew Sharp, getting a point score of 27.